from the government coming to Transport for London to spend on new trains and investment projects. On the one hand, it sounds like good news, and it does mean new Piccadilly line trains will be built. However, it does raise questions over funding for other infrastructure schemes like the Bakerloo line extension. Well, let's delve into this a bit more with our transport correspondent Tom Edwards. Hi Tom. What do you make of it? What does it mean?
Well, what we're talking about here is something called capital expenditure. That's the funding that they use for infrastructure and to renew and repair roads and rail, things like that. So if you have a look at the context of what TfL have been spending this year, for example, they've spent a lot of money, £1.89 billion on infrastructure. Of that, 200 million, as you can see there, came from central government. Now going forward, TfL wanted a lot more. They wanted £500 million a year over 5 years. Now what the government have decided is they're going to fund, as you can see there, only £250 million for 2024. It isn't terrible by any means, but it just maintains the status quo. There's no big, huge uplift that could go on to future projects.
Okay, thanks for giving us that context. Does it mean projects will have to be cut?
Well, that's the question, and we don't know at the moment. They're going to have to work this through. What it does mean, though, Piccadilly line trains are still going to go ahead. They're being built, as you can see here, up in East Yorkshire, in Gould. They're still going to be built there. Other than that, the other projects that we have talked about that are unfunded, the Bakerloo line extension, Piccadilly line signalling, they won't be funded by this, so there are questions there. TfL, as I say, is working through its business plan. There's a really interesting line in this letter from government to Transport for London. They say TfL must plan prudently. Doesn't exactly scream that we're going to get these massive injections of cash and investment in the future.
So it's all about what it means for future projects. So what has the reaction been?
Well, I think the response has been mixed. The Campaign for Better Transport, they say it doesn't help to have TfL on a short leash like this. This is what they had to say. Have a listen to this.
We wrote to the Transport Secretary last week and asked for what TfL have said they need, which is £500 million a year. TfL have done very well to balance their books in terms of being revenue neutral, but they really need the capital investment to get through some of the big projects like Piccadilly line trains, upgrading the signalling, and the things that we really need for Transport for London to grow. We know that a whole quarter of the economic output in the UK comes from London. A healthy London transport system is a healthy UK overall. So the way we see it is that it's nice of the government to have offered what they have, but it's significantly less than we would hope for, and then we hope that in future we'll see a longer term settlement to a much greater level.
Now, business groups say that TfL needs a long-term settlement so it can plan for the future. I think the problem here is there's a lot of uncertainty politically. We've got the mayoral election, general election next year. So what this is really doing is kicking the can down the road.
Okay, Tom, thanks for taking us through that. Appreciate it. That's our transport correspondent, Tom Edwards. Well, let's stay with how we get around the capital for a moment, because with only a week until Christmas Day, many Londoners are making plans to travel, to see family and friends, but the festive period also means engineering works and warnings from Network Rail to plan your journey to avoid being caught out. Harry Lowe is standing by at King's Cross tonight with all we need to know, Harry.
Yes, that's right. The great Christmas getaway is just around the corner, and this Friday and Saturday are expected to be the busiest days of all on the network. That's according to Network Rail. The RAC, motoring organisation, has said that it expects 21 million car journeys to take place between now and Christmas Eve, and it's already branded the 22nd Frantic Friday. As for here at King's Cross, on Christmas Eve, this station will be closed entirely. No services to and from here whatsoever, and that's due to an signalling equipment upgrade. It's the same story across town at Paddington. No services at all there on Christmas Eve, and that will actually remain closed until the 28th of December, which means that Britain's second busiest stations will have no services at all for 4 days over the festive period. As for Christmas Day itself, no services on Christmas Day as usual, and there will be, though, a limited number of services on the railway network on Boxing Day. No Elizabeth line services, though, for people on Boxing Day, although the Tube is running a Sunday service, and that means that your best way to get to Heathrow will be travelling via the Piccadilly line. Network Rail says that overall 95% of the network will operate business as usual over the festive period. And when you remember back to last year and those series of strikes which really crippled the transport network and made life a lot more difficult than it will be this year for passengers. As for airports, this is expected to be the busiest week ever for festive travel for UK airports, and Heathrow have told us that they expect Friday will probably be the most popular day for passengers. If you're a driver driving through London, in the centre of London, the congestion charge is suspended between Christmas Day and New Year's Day inclusive. But if your car is not ULEZ compliant, you will still have to pay the £12.50 levy every single day except for Christmas Day itself. As for trying to stay up to date with all of this information, don't forget you can listen to BBC Radio London to stay abreast of all these developments, and it doesn't need me to remind you that it is probably best if you check before you travel.
Absolutely, and breathe. A lot to get through there. Thanks very much, Harry. Appreciate it. And good luck getting